And Megan Fox here at PJ Media is explaining.
What's tip 4?
Well, don't trust women. I think you just touched on that with your Dancing with the Stars.
You can still love me.
I do. I love you all the time. But our First Amendment rights are huge. They are very important to me. They should be important to everyone. Don't be a public official if you don't want to be filmed, ma'am.
Megan Fox.
Yes.
Welcome to the live stream today, everybody. I'm Megan Fox. I write for PJ Media, and I've been digging deep into family court injustice across the country. And I just wanted to remind you all, if you like the investigation, you want to support the investigation, please do visit the GoFundMe. It's ticking across the bottom of your screen at the moment. And also, you can also support Michael Volpe and his work that he's doing through his website. I got to grab the link here, Mike, and stick it up there. Mike's here from Chicago. How are you this morning? Actually,
Good.
It's afternoon. We're a little late today. Sorry.
Right. No worries. I'm good. How's it going with you?
Good. So we need to, I don't have a ton to update with this week because I'm still working on some of the same stories that have been going on for a while.
Right.
What I do know, what I do have coming up, which is really exciting, my motion to intervene in the case in Burkhart v. Atkins is almost finished, and it's really good. And I'm only waiting on one form that I have to fill out in the state of Washington before I can enter that into the court system. But I can't wait until Shannon Moreau gets served with my motion to intervene in that case, because we're going to try and keep the judge from sealing the audio of gal Shannon Moreau berating a father. She wants to seal that from the public, and we're going to fight it.
Okay, very good. And in Miami-Dade, I have sort of the same thing, though I have not filed a motion to intervene. That might be a little bit above my head, but I'm such a hooligan. I'm now the center of not one, but two motions that we're going to go over. Also, I got 2 awards. I'm creating a new award. I want to give the Social Disservice Award. So this is gonna be Quentin Tarantino style. So the Social Disservice Award goes to a woman named Ayanna Brown. Now, she was involved in Melissa Toon's case. You remember Melissa was the one threatened by Judge Miller, and then when he would talk to the other lawyer, it'd be really kind and polite, and he'd scream at Melissa. It was just so ridiculous, right? So Melissa's accused by everyone of false allegations of abuse, even though it's her daughter constantly putting forward the disclosures. So in April, Miss Brown, I was wrong. I read this particular document before, but I didn't realize it was Miss Brown who wrote it. Her boss also signed it. So Ms. Brown said that they were closing the case, but that they hoped that Ms. Toon would stop making false allegations of abuse. Now, that happened in April. We're not giving her the award for that. You'll find out. We're going to have Katrina Milburn on at the end of her segment. You're going to find out why Ms. Brown is getting the Social Disservice Award, but just keep that in mind. So I have another award I want to give out. The Scumbag Lawyer Award. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's redundant, right? So Danielle Jesser versus Jeff Tharrington. We've talked about that case a lot. When we first started talking about it, they had a custody trial happen in April. They suspended it. It's supposed to end on July 26, 2021. Now, you've got to see what Danielle's scumbag lawyers are going to do. You're going to love this. This is such a lawyer. Does this come up?
Yep.
Right there. Let's read right here. The defendant, Danielle Jesser, retained P. Scott Harvey, Paul K. Meingert, and the attorneys of the Scott Law Group PLLC as attorneys of record in the above captioned manner. That good cause exists to withdraw for the withdrawal of counsel, wherefore the undersigned prays. And they did this on June 4th, 2021, Megan. And so
they're with her lawyers are bailing.
They're bailing, and the hearing to withdraw is July 12th, 2021. And they didn't actually give a reason. They just said good cause. You want to guess the reason?
Have they given her a reason?
Oh yeah.
The
money she paid them wasn't enough. They want more. And if she can't raise it, they're gonna bug out.
How much has she already paid them?
Oh no, that I can't. Apparently, that's not enough.
How much has she already paid them? Is it a lot?
She's paid them plenty.
Yeah.
Right. No, they want more, and I think it's possibly because of the pressure I've provided, which makes me feel a little responsible. But hold on, I just want to get this back up. If you guys are upset, look, their phone numbers are here. Why don't you ask one of them at the main number at the Scott Law Firm? Now, I spoke with someone that we both know, and there it is. I think we got the number down. So I spoke with someone we both know, Melinda Sherwin, and when I explained what was happening, she goes, they always do that, meaning scumbag lawyers.
They do.
They do always do that. And she then went into a profound...
This is a pattern.
She went into a profound rant. And I said, you know what? You need to write this down. So she did. So I want to read it.
Melinda, by the way, is a court watcher out of Arizona. She does great work for people and watching out for your due process rights in courts.
Mm-hmm. Right. Hold on. I've got to get it. So she gave me this great. Yeah, here we go. Lawyers recuse themselves from cases when the retainer runs out, or if the verbal promises they have made fall by the wayside and they are called out on their failure to fight for their clients. Suggestion: attorneys are most hungry at the beginning of the case. That is when you have your attorney put in writing their strategy to win your case. When does any person retain services from a professional without a full understanding of what they plan to do for you? Get it in writing before you pay the first retainer, and when they come back for more money, Mr. and Ms. Family Law Attorney, put your plan strategy to represent me in your retainer, or you do not get my money. And
that's exactly what people should be doing. I read that. You sent that to me, or she did, and I thought, my God, this is a great article. I need to write this. This is something I don't see why people don't do this. And I don't know if it's because people are intimidated by lawyers and they get taken advantage of them very easily. But there's no reason why you can't walk into any lawyer you're about to hire and say, okay, I'm going to give you your $10,000 retainer, but we're going to get some things down on paper first. Here's what you're going to do for me for that $10,000. And then you get in writing that you want this person to fight aggressively for you. And that if they do not fight aggressively for you, and that means filing all the motions that you need to file by the dates, not missing deadlines. And if you don't do those things, then you owe me this money. You owe it back to me. So I can get another attorney.
I don't know what happened with Ms. Jesser. I do know that she paid them. She paid them a lot, and now they want more. And then, and by the way, that motion is going to be held this coming Monday. So if you have nothing to do, then go ahead and check out that motion. Interestingly enough, not in front of Judge Gordon Miller, in front of a judge named Whit Davis. He's a judge since 2018, went to Duke for undergrad, and then went to Tulane. So I guess he's a little bit of an outsider. But basically, scumbag lawyer move. Bug out on your client 2 weeks before custody trial. How do you like that?
It's typical.
Right. Very, very typical. Also, Michelle McDonald from the Rucky case got suspended. Let me show you this excellent article. When I say excellent, I mean terrible. This excellent article.
In Michael Volpe speak, when he says excellent, he really means horrifying.
Right. Here we go. Minnesota Supreme Court yanks judicial candidates law license. Here we go. The Minnesota Supreme Court on Wednesday indefinitely suspended a law license of frequent justice candidate Michelle McDonald, affirming a referee's finding that she violated the state's rule of procession by falsely impugning the integrity of a judge. Now, you can go through it. They don't actually say what she did. Would you like to find out what she did?
Yep, I sure would.
No,
False,
it's interesting.
Impugning the character of a judge. It should not be illegal to impugn the character of a judge.
You would think. Now, this comes from a 2018 interview that goes for 2 minutes. And we'll play the entire interview, though most of it actually isn't impugning the judge. But tell me if you hear this.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I hear it.
Midday, Blaise Olson. I'm in today. I'll be in tomorrow. Joining me now, Michelle McDonald, who's running for the Minnesota Supreme Court. And as I was thinking about it, Brett Kavanaugh's hearings are one way to select Supreme Court justices. And in Minnesota, we actually have elections, and there's a competitive election this year. And I thought I'd bring on Michelle McDonald, who's running and has run before for the Supreme Court. Michelle, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm a first-time caller, long-time listener.
Well, great.
Hello to all of your listeners and the good people of Minnesota.
Well, thank you. You've been fairly visible. You've run before. you've been endorsed by the Republican Party in previous campaigns. Is it your sense that either activism or partisanship is part of a good thing running for Supreme Court?
Well, let's see. That's one of those loaded questions. I'm speaking out because courts need reform. I've been an attorney in the system for 30 years, and I don't think the current judges want to talk about that because they think business as usual is okay. But their court orders are damaging people and families. There's severe failure to follow the rule of law, to follow our Constitution and uphold it. And quite frankly, our civil rights are being violated by courts all over the state.
One of the cases you've been involved in was with Sandra Grazzini-Rucki. Is that one of the cases that you're referring to of civil rights being violated?
Yes, that's one of the cases. That was just one of those cases that went viral because what happened in that case is that I handled a trial while under arrest with no mother, no pen, no paper, no materials.
Okay.
And the children had run away. So that was a civil rights violation even before that happened. I had, on behalf of Sandra, sued the presiding judge. His name was David Knutson. I sued him in federal court. That suit was pending when she was having her custody trial, and that event occurred.
Ultimately, though, it was proven that Sandra Grazzini-Rucki was found guilty of denying the father's rights. So were his rights violated by her, or were her rights violated by the court?
Both of their rights were violated the court. What the public needs to be aware of is that the reason I got involved, and I did the case pro bono, is that Sandra came to me, and both she and her and the father, not her husband at the time, had no contact with their children whatsoever. The judge.
So she goes on. Did you hear yet the?
No, I didn't hear anything. I heard her mention. I heard her answer a question, but I didn't hear her impugn the character of any.
Right. At
any
one
judge.
point, she said there was no process in the hearing, and that is why she is suspended. Something you won't hear in the AP. And by the way,
that doesn't mean is that she didn't even mention the judge. I mean, she
did mention him.
She mentioned him, but
by the way, do you know
to answer the question?
Do you know who filed the complaint against her?
Who?
The judge.
The judge.
Yeah. None of this you'll see in the AP. They won't even tell you what it is she did. They won't tell you that for some reason in 2021 you're suspending somebody for an interview they gave in 2018. None of that they'll say. Wow. And of course, they won't also say that the reason that Sandra Grazzini-Rucki was convicted is because none of the evidence of abuse was allowed in by another corrupt judge named Karen Asfog. So she's not sure how many months, but for saying there was no process in 2018, she's facing an indefinite suspension. Isn't that nice?
Of her law
license.
Unbelievable. This is not America when a lawyer can't say her experience in court. If you can't say what it was that your clients went through in front of a judge, you're talking about a despot. A despot does things like this. A tyrant does things like this, takes away your law license because you speak out about the behavior that he himself exhibited in a courtroom. Is she the same lawyer that he had handcuffed to a wheelchair?
That's not only is she the same lawyer, that's the hearing she referred to when she said there was no process.
Wow. And I mean, how does he even deny that? It's on video.
No, he doesn't deny that.
Is he trying to say that that's within his purview as a judge, that he can handcuff lawyers?
It was worse.
Oh, God.
He claimed he didn't know she was handcuffed.
Oh, baloney.
I kid you not.
How did she get in the wheelchair?
He didn't know. He wasn't sure. Something must have happened.
I know.
Some
people did something.
I know.
Some people did something.
Some people, some people near David Rucki gave him a lot of money, and suddenly that's what he did. That's what happened.
Who put her in the handcuffs? Was it the bailiff?
the sheriff, that would be the Dakota County sheriffs, and the sheriff himself then quit. Tim Leslie, who's the sheriff now, I spoke to him. By the way, Tim Leslie once commented in this case on a sealed warrant. Smart. Thought they were sealed. You're not allowed to comment on those, but he went ahead and commented on a sealed warrant. But yeah, no, in that, so think about what the judge is allowed to do. He's allowed to handcuff her to a wheelchair, make her proceed, and then if she criticizes him, he's allowed to file a complaint against her and take away her law license. By the way, Michelle, when you watch this, you hugged David Knutson like a year ago, didn't you? You hugged it out. That was a good move.
Good
So
God.
in any case, apparently they let bygones be bygones, and they hugged it out. Even her husband, I heard, was very upset with her. But now her law license is suspended because in 2018 she gave that interview. And then
she
later,
really made no comment about him personally.
anything. Yeah, about
She really
anything.
made no comment about
Right,
it. All she
you
said was
should-
there wasn't process during that
Right,
hearing,
right,
which
you
I'm sorry,
should.
we can see the hearing. There's a
Right.
record of the hearing. There was
Right.
no process
Right,
during that
I know.
hearing. What
No,
she said was true.
Oh, no, I totally agree. Can you imagine that? Now, we're going to talk about the younger case in a minute here. Wait a minute, hold on.
Oh yeah,
get
the
that.
James Younger case. So to catch you guys
but-
up about that, are we moving on to that right now? Should I give a recap?
No, before then, I got
Okay.
I got to remember Sarah Royster at the Children's Law Center. She was cross-examined about the dog crate. We're not going to play
Yeah.
the whole thing, but I want to replay 20
When
seconds.
the judge protected her for why isn't it in
Right,
the
but-
report? And, yeah.
But you got to see what I found on the website of the Children's Law Center after I play this. So we're going to play about like 20 seconds. Let me get this up, and then
Okay.
Right. Okay. All right, let me get this up first, and then what I found on the Children's Law Center website is it's absolutely amazing. All right, so I think we have to.
Reedy is in the comments section. She's our local beauty queen who's fighting in the courts in Texas. She says that she's waiting on a ruling on Bradley Miller versus State of Texas. Reedy, I watched some of that this morning. That was pretty impressive. Dad going up against the whole court by himself. He was pretty good. I'd like to know what happens there as well. So I'll keep an eye on that. Reedy's doing great work in Texas. Okay, here we go.
/investigation detailed on that. Is that correct?
It does.
And on page 23, you indicated that an Ebony Maldonado interviewed the children about improper discipline. Is that right?
That's what Miss Maldonado shared with me.
Did you speak with the children about this allegation?
I did not.
Why?
Well, because I had already talked to them about how they're disciplined in their respective homes for the first reason.
When was that conversation?
In February 19th, and then of 2021. And then I also did not re-interview the children about these allegations because I know as a former social worker that it's not best practice and not in the best interest of children to be interviewed multiple times about the same maltreatment concerns. And I also am not the investigator. So
All right, did you hear? I'm also not the investigator. Now, let me make sure I get it to the right part of the of their website.
It's amazing to me how these people have no power. They say they have no power.
All right, so we're going to do this like class when I get it up. I'm going to have you read the paragraph I want read. So this is from the website of her employer, the Children's Law Center of Central North Carolina. Keep in mind, she just said, I'm not the investigator. All right, so this comes up, the bottom paragraph, the gal, can you read that? The gal is responsible for
The
what?
gal is responsible for investigating all aspects of the case and making recommendations regarding custody and or visitation services, including mental health treatment for the child and or parents. So wait, let's read that part again. The gal is responsible for investigating all aspects. Oh my
She
God.
just said, I'm not the investigator. Think about under oath, she says, I'm not the investigator on their website. Now, I've made this metaphor before. The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, was actually originally created for stuff like this because before them, you could say your bread cures cancer. You could say the snake oil cures everything. It didn't matter. They called it patent medicine. What we now call Big Pharma was patent medicine. And this kind of false advertising was so prevalent, you had to have the FDA. This is false advertising.
Yeah.
You claim on your website you're responsible for investigating all aspects of the case. You get put under oath and say, I didn't investigate that because I'm not the
investigator. Well, they have an excuse for everything, though. They have the power when they want it to, screw up your family completely and take your kids and give them to an abuser. They've got all that power. But the second they are called into question to be held accountable for that power, it's suddenly, I don't have any power. Come on.
Even though, but
who doesn't see through this?
Can you imagine if you actually hired them based on what you read on the website, and then she said, I'm not the investigator? Can you imagine? That is blatant, horrible, false advertising. And the thing is, that happens. Food and drugs used to be the Wild West. You could do whatever you wanted. Snake oil salesman, actual snake oil salesman existed because of that. It's the same kind of thing because there's no oversight. You're allowed to do this. You're allowed to put on your website one thing and testify under oath to the exact opposite. So now let's move on to the younger case.
Okay, so let me give you a recap to the listeners out there about the James Younger case. You may remember Save James, hashtag Save James. James Younger is a little boy whose mother is a super woke pediatrician who has decided that when he was 3 years old that James wanted to be a girl, and she called him Luna and let him wear little girls' clothes to school and is forcing everyone to call him her. And the father says that's not true. That when James is with him, he chooses to wear boys' clothes and he's happy to be a boy and he wants a boy's haircut and he doesn't want to be a girl when he's with dad, but when he's with mom, he does. Now there's some serious psychological bullshit happening here, if we just be frank, going on with this kid. And it's really sad. And one of the things that she's pushing for and that she has been pushing for from the beginning is that she's going to have this kid put on puberty blockers at some point. Now, the father's fighting this. He's trying to stop it. And of course, her lawyer
downplayed it and said, we have not asked for that. But definitely, number one, her lawyer said the boy, James, what they call Luna, has gender dysphoria. Nobody has gender dysphoria at 3 years old. All right.
Well, he's not 3 anymore. This is when the mother said
when he started when it was 3. Okay.
Now he's 9.
3-year-olds don't have gender dysphoria. 9-year-olds don't have gender dysphoria.
Look, my 3-year-old once spent an entire month telling everyone she was a dog and barking and crawling around on the floor and eating her snacks out of a bowl. I swear to you, this happened. And as responsible parents, what we do in those situations is feed the kid the snacks on the floor and pet the kid's head when they come by, and eventually they stop doing it. Eventually they said walking around on 2 feet is better than 4. And you just let them have their fantasy because children have incredible, fantastic imaginations, and they will often, pretend that they are something else that they are not. In fact, my son, because I've got girls, right? My 2 oldest ones are girls. So before my son came along, our whole house we've got costumes everywhere. And of course, they're all princess ball gowns, right? Well, when my son came along, it never occurred to me that I didn't have any costumes for him until the day he put on one of his sister's dresses. And he was bouncing around in the house, happy as a clam. And I was like, oh, do you want to dress up? Is that what you're telling me here? And he's all, yeah, I want costumes. So instead of being, a moron like this woman and saying, oh my God, my son is a girl, I went out and bought him all these cool costumes. I bought him firemen and policemen, and we got a king's costume.
And I bet your son liked them.
Loved them. Never put on a dress again. Never put on. And I didn't tell him not to because I'm not. But I just figured it out.
With no grad school or medical school, you figured out how to.
With no gender studies degree.
Right. You figured out how to.
That my 4-year-old son was not having gender dysphoria, but just wanted a cool costume.
You nipped it in the butt. See,
exactly.
Look, this is a form of abuse. And so I wanted to play 2 clips, one from mom's attorney and then one from dad's attorney. because they all turn it into this term. So let me get this up. We'll start with mom's attorney. It's like 20 or 30 seconds.
Okay.
And
thanks for the support in the chat room. Everybody's happy with my what I did for my son, and I think it's really just common sense, people. If your kid wants to play dress up, that's okay, but give them some good options.
A rundown of the timeline. The two kids issue in this case, there are two kids. They are 9 years old. They were both born boys. One of the children's name is Jude, and the other child is legally named James. You're going to hear me refer to that child as Luna today, because that is the child that you're going to hear a lot about that has been previously diagnosed as gender dysphoric or as transgender, all of those terms. But the reality of this case, Your Honor, is that this is not about the child's gender issues. You're not going to really hear me talking about the gender issues. This is just a high conflict custody case.
This is just a high conflict custody case, Megan.
And
That's
why,
all this is.
Michael, why is it
because one of the parents
contested?
wants the child to have the same gender they started with, and the other one is an abuser. That's why. And
I
by
love how
the
she
way,
says it has nothing to do with the gender dysphoria issues.
All
Yes,
right,
it has everything to do with it. And by the way, can we also point out, we didn't say this, but the night before the hearing, mom's attorney submitted a new affidavit that was that had taken out the request for all medical decisions to go through mom. That's what they were asking for. And then they, at the last minute, like at midnight, they submitted a new motion and removed all that. So then she gets up in front. She's a good lawyer. I got to give it to her. Lawyer gets up in front of the judge and says, we never wanted any of that. That's not true at all. As you can see in our amended motion, we're not asking for any medical decisions to be gone through just the mother. So they lied. They lied, and they quickly took it out because they knew that it was going to cause a media storm if mom was asking for all the medical decisions.
That's correct.
Sneaky.
So this is Dad's attorney, his opening statement.
I've listened to opposing counsel's opening statement, and I agree with her on 2 points. And then on the 4 pages of notes I made about her opening statement, I disagree on virtually every single point. We agree that there's 2 children, and we agree that it is a high conflict case.
They're all scammers, Megan. Dad's attorney, mom's attorney, they're all scammers. High conflict is what court actors use to manipulate the case. That's what Sarah Royster said like 5 times during her cross-examination.
High conflict gives them it gives them the ability to do whatever they want to these people.
Oh, and by the way, what happened in this case? A parenting coordinator was brought in. In fact, right now, the court order, according to what mom's attorney said, says that if mom and dad can't agree, the parenting coordinator makes the decisions.
Right.
Then the parenting coordinator appointed 2 other people. You've seen this before. They're all manipulating these cases. They manipulate all of these cases. If you hear a court actor say high conflict divorce, you should look at them and say, you must be a scammer.
And also they use that to bring on all of their experts. That's how it happens. So you get you get identified as high conflict. Then next thing you know, you've got court-appointed psychologists, court-appointed custody evaluators, court-appointed GAL, court-appointed this, court-appointed that, until your bank account is empty.
Zero. And then your attorneys ask for more money, and they say,
and then they quit.
And then they quit.
Yeah.
Scumbag lawyers, like the Scott Law firm in North Carolina.
Scumbag lawyers.
Let me know. Katrina should be coming on pretty soon.
I'll let you know when she gets here. I haven't seen her yet, but we do have a guest coming, Katrina Milberg from North Carolina.
From Davidson County. We sort of, let me see. Can you take the fort while I figure out where she's at?
Yeah, of course. So the James Younger case is really disturbing, and we still don't know what happened in that case. Reedy, are you still in the chat room? Do you know what happened in that case? Because we still haven't heard an outcome and what the judge ruled for the hearing. And the hearing was, you know what else made me laugh is that mom was complaining to the attorney, to the courtroom, that her house has been vandalized on more than one occasion, including on Halloween night, and she wants to somehow attribute this to her ex-husband. Mike, remember that when they, are you back, or should I take you
I'm
out?
back. I'm back. She should be coming any
How about when James Younger's mom decided to tell the court that her house is being vandalized on Halloween night? No
right.
less. And that's her ex-husband's fault somehow.
They made the media so much a part of this. It was unbelievable. They made the media so much a part of this.
They did.
This
was all about, he should not be having a Facebook page that has his son's name on it, and he should not be updating people as to what's happening. Why not? This is a public interest case. The entire nation wants to know what's going to happen to young James Younger.
Speaking of that, I've got a couple of updates in Miami-Dade. I remember I told you I'm a hooligan. Let me show you just how big a hooligan I am. I'm a part of not one, but two motions. And so I don't know if this comes up. Let's get to
hooligan.
Let's get to here we go. Consistent with the former husband's highly unusual and erratic behavior throughout the litigation, the former husband has been communicating and fully invited, quote unquote, journalist Michael Volpe. This is
why
Eric
do they always
Satin.
do that with the quotation marks?
Because I'm not a real journalist.
But you have no other job. You have no other job.
Hold on, let me.
It's not like you wait tables or anything.
At the outset, former husband asked that Mr. Volpe join mediation between parties on June 17, 2020, on the grounds that Mr. Volpe will be closely following the case going forward, a request which the former wife denied. By the way, that's Jordan Abramowitz. Then on this past Wednesday, June 23, 2021, the former husband gave an interview under his full name with Mr. Volpe that was posted on Mr. Volpe's website, stating that, quote, Satin said that the false allegations continued until the court settled on the charge that he coached his daughter to say that her mother and her mother's family was coaching her to make false allegations against him. This, Satin said, came shortly after his daughter disclosed to him yet another scheme to try and tag him with child molestation charges. Now let's go to the other one. This is we had both Gabe Shapiro on and Eric Satin, and here we go. I think it's starting.
Oh,
here we go.
Katrina says she can't get on. I'll share the, why don't you share the link with her again? She's in the chat room. She says she's unable to connect. Does she not have the right?
I sent her, I'll figure it out. But
okay.
Well, can I read this and then I'll go. Here we go. In an effort to intimidate the professionals involved, including the undersigned, that's Dory Foster Morales, the outgoing president of the bar. She's intimidated by me. The journalist emailed a YouTube interview of said journalist to undersigned. Upon information believed the former husband and his agents. Whoa, hold on one second. The former and his agents are communicating with this alleged journalist and plan to disseminate inappropriate and confidential information. And so basically both of these motions,
alleged journalist, that annoys me.
Both of these motions are done to violate their First Amendment rights. And in fact, Dory Foster Morales, that's the $700 an hour lawyer, she did get an injunction. Gabe is allowed to do certain things, but I'm not sure how much he's allowed to do going forward. And that's based on the emergency motion that she filed ex parte, that she got fast tracked. And this was the motion that Gabe wasn't even allowed to attend.
It's incredible. They really hate any journalism, any press paying any attention, and they're so not used to it because journalists generally stay out of family court. They have no interest in it. And so when somebody decides, oh, I'm interested in what's going on here, they will go to any lengths to silence you. I found that in the Younger case to be really upsetting, listening to the entire argument by mom's lawyer being about how this case, like somehow Mr. Younger did something wrong because he alerted the media and the public to what this court system is doing to him. And I'm sorry, but this is everyone's right, including the families in Miami, including any family suffering in family court. If you're being mistreated, if your due process is being denied, you have a right to tell people about it. You have a right, especially because you have no remedy in the court. You have no remedy to go against the judge. So what is your last resort? Your last resort is to go to the press and ask the press to tell the story.
In a country with a free press, it's amazing how often lawyers use you going to the press as somehow bad.
Right.
Consistent with his erratic behavior, he spoke to the press. I'm trying to can you imagine Dory Foster Morales? She makes $700 an hour. I sent her an email with a link, and she goes, "I'm intimidated." She's intimidated.
They always claim this harassment, and this is so textbook. Mike and I have never harassed anyone. This is just so absurd. There is a textbook definition of harassment, and nothing of what we do even comes close. If you don't like getting emails from us or press inquiries, guess what? You can block my email address.
Right, or not open them. Or
not open that. Yeah, send them right to the trash.
But can you imagine saying,
that's not harassment.
I received a YouTube link and I'm very harassed.
Katrina
I make $700 an hour, but I'm harassed. By a YouTube link. All right, so Katrina.
Not harassment.
Katrina is from Davidson County, which is right next door to Forsyth. She has been manhandled, had her civil rights violated, and I don't think she has her daughter now. But we're going to do this a little bit Quentin Tarantino style. I love saying that. Katrina, I think it was June or July 2019. You had an incident. Your daughter was sleeping in the car. You were right next to the car. And so just explain what happened that day. And then after that, we can work our way back to who your ex is and everything else.
On May 30th, make sure you can hear me okay. On May 30th, 2019, I took my daughter and myself to urgent care, and she fell asleep, deep asleep. And I was on the phone with a divorce attorney while my car was locked. My purse was in my car, and she was asleep for a long time. Someone called the cops saying there was a child in the locked car, but the AC was on. My eyes never left my daughter. And the cops came, and I said, "Please don't wake up my daughter." 5 of them, including a captain. They all had body cameras on. So they looked at my daughter. They said she was fine. The one cop was staring at her, looked at the AC. They were leaving the scene. One macho cop decided to follow me, asked for my name.
Wait, before you go on, cops from where?
It's actually Thomasville City, Davidson County, but Thomasville City,
North Carolina.
Yes.
Okay, keep going.
My friend, yeah. So anyway, so he asked for my name. I gave him my name. At this point, there was actually no reason. I did not know this, but then he asked for my ID. And then, so my car was locked, my SUV. I went inside my car, and my purse was in the passenger side. I'm getting my purse, my arm's inside my purse. Next thing I know, I feel 4 hands on me. I'm being pulled out of my SUV, and I'm slammed onto the pavement.
Oh my God.
Don't know why. All I can do is say, "Please don't wake up my daughter." And I'm just staring at my daughter, just praying she does not wake up. My daughter's 2.5 at this time, and sick. We both were. Anyways, so next thing I know, I'm wearing a summer dress at this time. It's May 30th. And I'm just going to put it out there. I wear thongs. So I look down and I look at the cops. They're staring at my private parts. And I feel very sexually violated. My dress was up and everything was exposed. So I try to pull my dress up over my private area. And next thing I know, both freaking cops, over 200 pounds. I weigh about 105, 110. Both of them pick me up again, pull me backwards, and slam me back around on the pavement. And I just start crying. And I say, "Please don't wake up my daughter." And they left my daughter in my car with AC on, same conditions, for about 3 hours.
Okay. Now you were visited by DSS at some point too, right?
Yeah. They gave me the cops searched my purse. They were asking me a bunch of questions. But then, yes, at the very end, it took about 4 hours. I called the babysitter. She came. CPS caseworker came at the very, very end.
How would you describe the CPS caseworker?
She had absolutely void of feelings.
All right. Now, before you go on, let me play a very short clip. And what do you remember her name?
Her name's Asia Waller.
Asia Waller. She also deserved the Social Disservice Award. Here's Asia.
Oh yeah.
Drunk on power.
Don't comply with us. Your kid will stay out of your care a lot longer. Do it no matter.
You hear that? You don't comply with us, your kid's going to stay out of your care a lot longer. I think Asia likes to swoop in and snatch children. All right, so go on. What happened?
So that actually is not Asia Waller, but Asia Waller.
No, that's another one?
Yeah, that's another. She got fired. I put that video on the Davidson County Foster Care Facebook site, and then that week both case workers got fired.
Really? Okay. Yeah. All right. So
what were they asking you to comply with? What did they want you to do?
I walked in and they were already inside my house. I own this house. So
right, and this is I'm sorry, this I played from another incident. I got confused. Finish that day is from
I drove home with a babysitter. Asia Waller followed us home, called my ex. My ex said I was a good mother and he had no concerns. And so they closed the case. I have a document and it says they closed the case. And then so my so I had to go to the hospital to get the bruises and get pictures of the bruises. You know, my whole body felt broken. I had bruises from my head. I mean, and from my shoulders all the way down to my toes, all the way to my bottom of my toes, my upper thighs, all the way down. I mean, it's horrible. So I wanted pictures of my bruises. The babysitter was sick. So I called my ex. He had abandoned my daughter and myself January 2019. That was the first time he ever came back. So he did come back and babysit our daughter that night. The next day, my daughter told me some disturbing things. And I did try to confront my ex about it. He was very defensive. So then so I took her to the babysitter and I took my daughter to the pediatrician. The pediatrician did
disturbing things about what? Allegations of child abuse?
Sexual molestation.
Yeah. Not penetration, but yes, sexual abuse.
Right.
I have it on video. Yes, my daughter's just.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Okay, so I immediately tried to ask my ex about it, and he just would not discuss it. Anyway, so the babysitter and I took my daughter to the pediatrician. Now there was my daughter's already diagnosed with vaginitis. The pediatrician said she does believe the father's sexually abusing my daughter.
Did she call CPS?
No.
What did she tell her to do?
She made a referral to Brenner's Children's Hospital in Forsyth County. And I had to wait for that phone call. That phone call came the day my ex, it was a whole setup that I described to you already. That's in the previous, about him having seizures coming to my house. I had a camera set up. So,
how long before that phone call came?
2 months, about 2 months.
Wait, so you reported to your pediatrician referred it to a hospital, and the hospital waited 2 months to call you?
The same day, it was July 22nd is when they called.
The same day as what?
That my ex had made the false allegations to CPS.
All right, so describe what happened with CPS on that day.
I came home. I had a CT scan at the hospital. I was there for 2 hours. I came home, and the caseworkers, I called my parents to watch my daughter. She was in my bed, and I came home to caseworkers in my home, and that's when that incident happened.
That Asia Wall, the lady who said, if you don't cooperate with us, your child will be gone even longer. So she was already telling you your kid is gone, right?
Well, because my ex had trespassed and told them a bunch of false allegations on property.
Okay. So basically your ex called in and said, my ex is a terrible person, which never happens, ever. And CPS said, well, that must be true because and a jilted ex would never lie about the other parent. That never happens.
Yeah, an ex that he abandoned us for 9 months, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, Megan, it's amazing how often a child discloses and you can't find that founded. But when the ex says something like,
all of a sudden everyone jumps
Melissa Toon's ex claims the daughter is afraid of mom. That seems to be very solid. This seems to be very solid. Daniel Jusser has something similar as well. Keep going. So what happened when the caseworkers are in your house?
So the safety assessment was all filled out, no investigation. They said I was on drugs, mentally unstable. I took a drug test immediately, passed it. I took a mental health evaluation, passed it.
Right.
So
Did they give you, wait, okay, you weren't on drugs, you showed that.
Yeah.
You're not mentally unstable, you showed that. So they probably gave you your kids back in like 3-4 days, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
What happened?
So I tried calling the caseworker, Asia Waller, again. And she would not return my phone calls, my emails. Nothing.
No, nothing.
No, my
Right.
mom tried calling her.
Nothing.
My parents just retired. They were moving from Virginia to North Carolina at that time. They were trying to retire. So my mom was like, when can my daughter get her daughter back? Nothing. So then I went and met with her, and they said that I had a brain injury and that I was lying about it, first of all. And then I was like, and then he turned around and said, that my brain injury is so bad, I can't parent my daughter.
Wait, so they went from you're on drugs and mentally unstable, and when that didn't work, they claimed you had a brain injury that you hid that makes you unfit.
Well, they said
I bet the military is going to love this one. Anybody with a TBI, get ready to have your kids taken. Go ahead. So what was the brain injury they were claiming you had?
Yeah, I already had. Well, I do. I have a brain injury with no cognitive deficits, but it's more my neck injury, like back of my neck. I have bone spurs. That's it.
Right.
But they said that I don't have it first. He said that I was lying about it first.
Right.
So then they said, so I did file a complaint with HHS, Health and Human Services out of Raleigh. They came in and investigated. So after that, the same day, they tried to file incompetency. I can never say that word, hearing. Saying I was incompetent because I was sending too many emails. Sending too many freaking emails out, which were legit emails.
They're probably harassing. Probably they're harassing.
It was retaliation. So an adjudication is supposed to be between 30 and 90 days. It took 11 months for me.
Oh my God.
Wait, hold on. Let's do the math. That's almost 360 days. And you said 30 to 90 days. You know what I find amazing, Megan? Let me just tell you what I find amazing. They meaning DSS, courts, lawyers, they can violate every rule, every rule. Doesn't matter. You got 2 weeks left before your custody trial. We're going to leave you to the lurch unless you come up with 10 grand. No big deal. But if they show up at your house and there's some food that's not on the table, what happens?
My house is spotless. It's the best.
Yeah, but what happens if there's a spot anywhere?
There's no spot anymore. It has the best childproof everything, not the plastic stuff that goes in the outlets. It has the best out. I mean, I have a baby gate. I have the best everything.
But what would happen if there was a spot somewhere? What would happen if you left the toy like in a corner? They'd probably use that to the maximum to try to take your
I always
child.
had cameras every time they came to my house.
Right.
I had cameras.
Right.
I had cameras up.
All right,
and
so keep going with the story. Keep going with the story.
So there's one more thing. So I have video footage I wanted to share with you. So I had a judge's signature on a restraining order for me to get my daughter while I had my physical rights. And I told my mom about it, and she welcomed me to come get my daughter. Well, she called my ex. My ex called Asia Waller. Asia Waller told my mom to go take my daughter and leave.
Wait, by the way, this is what's called weaponizing child protective services.
This is called kidnapping and fleeing.
Right. But using CPS to do it. And a lot of people weaponize CPS in a bunch of different ways.
I had a judge's signature. This is on a Friday. So after 5 o'clock, they can only get a magistrate's signature. My judge's signature overrides a magistrate's signature. So I have a Ring doorbell. I'm at a friend's house eating. And the police are there. They're saying exactly who called in, saying I was going to commit suicide. I hadn't talked to Asia Waller in days.
Wait, so they went from you're mentally unstable on drugs, you have TBI, and now you're suicidal?
Yeah.
Are they just they're picking stuff out of a hat. It's like they got a hat full of stuff.
She made this full up. So I'm hearing them say this. And then I did not think this would happen. They actually, I have a Ring doorbell sticker. Okay. You think they'd be smarter. So she opens up my door after they say everything, opens up my door, barely shuts it. And she says, door open. I have a big, thick glass door and a big, thick door. It was unlocked because I was actually at a neighbor's house eating. There's a mom and daughter, and they all witnessed this too. They actually illegally and unlawfully went inside my house, opened up my doors, and searched it. They should be thankful my dog was not inside my house. It was in my backyard, but they illegally searched my house.
Well, if they had cops with them, they would have just shot your dog. So you should probably be happy the dog was out in the yard.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I
All
just.
right, so
Well, I got my Ring doorbell app. I said, you need to get out of my house immediately. And they had no clue where it was coming from, the voice. And they finally figured it out. And they tried to be all sweet and, innocent.
Right.
I have it all on video. I mean,
now what happened 11 months later? You had a hearing. Describe what happened at this hearing.
So on June 18th, 2020, we have a hearing. My ex has a new attorney. It's his custody attorney. She was a gal for CPS. And I didn't know this, but so everyone puts on their evidence. My attorney already said that my daughter was going to be, the case was going to be dismissed. It was dismissed. We didn't have to put on a single bit of evidence.
It wasn't only dismissed, but it was dismissed without you actually putting any evidence on.
Not a single bit of
evidence. So that means their case was so weak.
So bad.
Right.
They didn't even have to have
in criminal cases, every once in a while, a defense attorney will do this. They'll go, we don't even need to put on a case because you haven't proven. We have argued during your presentation and we've created reasonable doubt.
And her father didn't want to dismiss. Her dad was against dismissing. Her dad did not want my daughter. Her dad did not want his daughter out of DSS care.
He wanted her in foster care.
Yeah, he wanted to keep her in foster care. And then he attacked me.
Yeah, David Rucky said the same thing once.
It's disgusting. Yeah,
right, it is. It is.
And then he attacked me with him and his attorney attacked me that same day while we're waiting and threatened me because I was getting my daughter. She was waiting on me to pick her up. And they threatened me that if I didn't sign something, well, first of all, he threatened to kill me. That's the second time. First time was in October. It was a close hearing. It's just him and myself. We're waiting on our attorneys. So I'm being threatened. Then his attorney threatens me. She was just denied emergency custody. I did not know this. Okay, but she came out and said, if you don't sign some paperwork, some agreement.
This paperwork, what did they call it?
I found out it was a memorandum at the time.
Of understanding, I think. Memorandum of understanding, right?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. So
this at the time, I did not know.
A pseudo custody and visitation agreement. Remember, that's what Cherokee County DSS used to take your kids. I think that in North Carolina, they all have variations of these CVAs. And what you were dealing with is basically like a cousin to it. I'm sure it's not exactly the same, but probably pretty similar. And so this memorandum did what?
Well, it did nothing at the time. All I know is that she gave me a line. She put a line. She said, "Sign it." I never read it. There was triangles. There was no judge's signature. There was no notary. There's no file stamp. No nothing.
Right. That's how CVAs work. Go ahead. And so, how was that used against you?
That so far it hasn't been.
No, but you have custody of your daughter, or you don't?
So no. So they tried taking out 3 emergency custody orders. They were all denied. And then on the 4th one, they left out. I did get a restraining order. The 4th time, his attorney left out. I had a restraining order and said, upon belief, I was seen packing belongings and was planning to flee. I remind you, I have cameras inside my house, my front yard.
So first, you were accused of being mentally unstable. Then you were accused of being on drugs. Then you were accused of having a head injury. Now you're accused of possibly fleeing.
Well, yeah.
You really are just picking them out of a hat.
Yeah, well, she plagiarized the DSS petition first and added that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And they used that, and a judge actually granted the order?
The chief judge of Davidson County. After 3 judges from Davidson County did not grant that order.
The chief judge, what is the chief judge's name?
He just retired, but it was Judge Michaels.
What's the first name? Do you know?
Judge Michaels. Yeah, I really don't remember. Yeah.
All right, we'll figure it out. So, and as a result of that order, what's happened to you and your daughter?
My ex had already violated the restraining orders 3 times. I was on the phone with the cops. My friend, the Leo, was here at my house. He left, told me that there was someone turned around to follow him, thinking I had no clue that they could come do anything, but the cops came to my house. My daughter was sleeping. They forced their way in my house, and my daughter forced her to wake up. She's shaking and crying. I had this all on video. It's horrific. July 13th, not even a month
2020.
later. Yeah, not even a month later. No car seat, no nothing. They just wake her up. She's shaking and crying, just hysterical, traumatized. I'm holding her. They're rushing me. Again, they're wearing these bandanas around their face.
Mhm.
I get her out of her crib, and I'm outside. They're trying to
And
walk
they're ordering you to give her to them.
quickly.
And
they
this
told
is
me
the same police department who threw you on the
this is
ground and
actually
gawked
Davidson
you.
County. This is the
Oh,
deputies, because this is the county. Yeah.
Megan, bad cops, just a couple of rotten apples, right? Now
Yeah,
she
just a
just
few.
ran into all of them. Katrina ran into all of them.
So they
There's
said
no
they were
more
above
bad
the law.
cops left. You've heard them all.
They said they were above the law. There was no car seat for my 3.5-year-old daughter.
Right.
And I
Of course,
demanded a car seat.
if you were traveling around with your daughter in no car seat,
Of
you know,
course.
they take your
Right.
kid from you.
Right. Right.
But they can do it. They can do whatever they want.
Have you seen her since that day?
Yes, I have. I had to
How many
represent
times?
myself per se. So I wasn't able to talk to her. After the emergency custody, it took 40 days for me to go in front of a judge.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And
then-
how long before you were allowed to see her?
So I had to see her. The judge said that there's no proof of me fleeing. She had a problem with how they got the order, but they still ordered me visitation.
Unbelievable.
Wait, so the judge ruled that everything they did was bogus, but then
Yeah.
also ruled that you shouldn't get your daughter back. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Who is this judge?
She's from Iredell County.
What's her
An
name?
out-of-town judge. Judge. I'm sorry. She's a
It's
female
okay.
judge. Because the last one was Fritz Mercer, Wake Forest, class of 73. By the way,
Mhm.
Michael. This one was
same.
Lots of Wake Forest people. Yep.
Yeah, from Mecklenburg County. This one is Iredell County, and this is Judge.
It's okay if you can't remember.
All right. So
I know there's another person who knows this judge, and I have pictures of.
Did we lose her?
Hopefully not. Hopefully she'll come back. She froze for a minute there. Well, Michael, this story is incredible.
Right. They really do swoop in and snatch children in North Carolina. Isn't that amazing? If you don't cooperate with us, you'll see your children. It'll be even longer before you see your children. There's no question you're not going to see your kids. It's just a matter of how many months it's going to be.
And it shows too that they don't have to have any evidence,
Mhm.
and they can actually keep your kids on no evidence at all. They didn't even take it to trial. I mean, they said there's no evidence. We're not even going to hear this. And then somehow she still ends up losing her kids. Katrina's phone shut down. She said it got too hot. So I don't think she'll be joining us again. But that's okay. I think we got most of that out there.
We got most of it, except Katrina was witness. I'm going to have to describe it.
Judge Hicks, by the way. The name of the judge was Judge Hicks.
All right. So I sent you a video that's like a minute and a half long that you may or may not have watched. So
I did not watch it yet.
All right. I will describe it. Katrina took it. This happened on June 22nd, 2021. So like 2 weeks ago. So Danielle Jesser versus Jeff Tharrington. Remember, her lawyers want to withdraw from the case. Listen to this. I'll give you guys an outside the box way to withdraw, guys, at the Scott Law Firm. Her boy came back with a big welt right here. Katrina put on the camera, asked him how he got the big welt. Got the big welt being hit with a big stick.
Oh, I did watch that video. I did.
Stick.
And he said he got hit by a big stick.
Jeff Tharrington now hit his boy with a stick. Hey, guys at the Scott Law Firm, why don't you just file an emergency motion, use the video, get your client full custody, and then you can withdraw.
Then you can withdraw. How about do your job?
Yeah,
how about do your job and get this kid out of the control of an abuser? My God.
And by the way, Sarah Royster, you're proud of yourself, right? Because this was the goal. When you ignore abuse, what do you think happens? And I'll read
abuse. This little boy, by the way, is showing he's got bruises all over his body, all over. And I mean, how on earth are they not holding it? If I feel like if the mother gave the boy to the father in that condition where he had not had those bruises, I feel as if that happened under her watch, she'd be underneath, she'd be on the ground underneath cops. They'd be arresting her for child abuse. Why does this guy get a pass?
Do you want to guess the name of the caseworker on Danielle Jesser's case?
Oh, was it that Asia person?
No, Ayanna Brown.
Oh, right. We were going to see this at the end.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So the way that Katrina described it to me is Brown shows up in the end of June with a face mask on and refuses to be videotaped and had absolutely no concern about the boy being hit. Miss Brown likes child abusers. She thinks Tyson Patterson's swell. She thinks Jeff Darrington's swell. They all think these child abusers are swell, and they go after the protective parents. And that's basically how it works in North Carolina. Between DSS, your lawyers, the judge, you get put into a vice. There's no and the cops. Oh, I found out Danielle went to Forsyth County Sheriff's Office in November of last year with another photo of her daughter, this time with bruises. They did nothing. They all do nothing. It's pretty much
I forgot.
impossible.
I wanted to announce this as well. Kara Witkowski.
Kara Witkowski, yes.
She's having a protest on Friday at the Palatine. Is it the Palatine Police Station?
Yes.
And they have 18,000 signatures now on a petition asking the Palatine Police to reopen the investigation into little James Beal, his death. James Beal had obvious signs of severe sexual abuse.
James Beal was raped by his dad continually. That's why he had a prolapsed
rectum. Yeah.
And and the boy was not even 2 years old. And essentially what that did was it eventually snapped his neck. Now, she can describe it in the medical terms. They've been covering it up. And the reason they're covering it up is because they were covering up for Thomas Beal, the murderer, for many months, not just at Palatine, at Elgin, another town near Chicago. And now they got to cover it up because they were already covering up for a guy who's a rapist. I know he's a rapist. He admitted it in a text message. Then he admitted it in court, never charged with rape. It was okay. It was okay because I guess he was raping Kara. It's all right.
They also found child pornography on his computer, and nothing ever happened to him. This man is clearly an abuser, and they are just. What did the official report of little James's death say?
Unexplained.
Unexplained.
2-year-old unexplained.
Unbelievable. Yet his mother, Kara, had been warning people from anyone who would listen. He's not safe. This man is an abuser. Then they find poor little 2-year-old, 2 years old, dead, dead, and no proper investigation is being done. So if you are anywhere near Palatine, Illinois, get to the go to Justice for James on Facebook, and you can see there's an event there. I also put it on my author page.
4 p.m. local time on Friday. I'm going to try to be there. I should be there.
Oh, I hope you do go.
One thing, the Palatine Police Department, within 24 hours of James' death, said they don't believe there was any foul play involved.
I saw that. I tried to contact them and they wouldn't tell me anything. Have you tried again recently?
I haven't tried recently, but they would not explain how they could come up. Well, that was a press release they put out. They said a 2-year-old died, but we don't think that any foul play was involved. 2-year-olds
they hadn't done any. What kind of police say they don't think there's any there's no foul play when they haven't done any investigation?
Palatine, I think, is about 30, 40 miles west of Chicago. And in the early 1990s, they had this very notorious murder at Brown's Chicken.
Brown's Chicken murders, yeah.
And that's what they're mostly known for. But it's a well-to-do suburb, but clearly the cops
they also had a scandal out there that I covered a while ago of a teacher. They had this really far-left teacher indoctrinating students at Palatine High School. And then Palatine High School became like the first high school to kick off the transgender wars because they're allowing biological boys to use the girls' bathrooms. Palatine has a lot of problems, including, by the way, the police department is one of their problems. In that same scandal in high school, there had been police who had been visiting students' houses at night, intimidating them for speaking out at board meetings. I kid you not. I'm like, that was insane.
Right. And Tom Lemons, who you interviewed, in his story, he showed police doing the same thing to people who were speaking out. That happens. a few rotten apples.
Yeah, just a
There
few.
aren't that many bad
Back
cops.
the
Just
blue, back the blue.
back the blue.
Yeah.
It's really hard to back the blue in Palatine.
It's
disgusting.
really hard to back
It's
the blue in
totally
Palatine.
disgusting. And what's interesting is her case is out of Kane County in terms of the family court. Palatine is in Cook County. Somehow the corruption was coordinated among counties. I don't know if the audio is still online, but she got a call from a McHenry County deputy who browbeat her like a month
That call
after
was recorded,
James.
wasn't it?
Yeah, after
I
James
heard that
died.
call. It was awful.
Listen, the way Kara's treated it's just remarkable. The way she is gaslighted, mistreated. It's as though she's some pampered star as opposed to a mom who lost her son, who's trying to get answers. You are treating her like she's some sort of diva who is asking for unreasonable demands with coffee and candy.
All she's ever been asking for is for a proper investigation into the death of her son. And by the way, I believe her daughter is still in the hands of the abuser. Is that correct?
The abuser has 50-50 custody. Courtesy, I should say, of Judge Cruz, Rene Cruz, I think is his name. Essentially what happened was Kara spoke out. They gave her some sort of order barring her from speaking out. They said, we'll either put you in jail or agree to 50-50 with your rapist / son's murderer. And she felt she had no choice. And by the way, as she pointed out, she has given him custody of her daughter every time he's supposed to have it. Because if she didn't, she'd be
And
arrested.
every time she sends her daughter there, she has to wonder if today's the day. Is today the day that she gets the phone call that her little girl is not breathing?
Right. Look up a woman named Hira McLeod faced with the same decision. And one day was that day. She decided not to violate the court order. Her son, I believe, is dead.
Oh, God.
One of the first
There's
stories.
too many of these, Mike. There's too many of these dead kid stories.
A lot of them, and it's because there's no oversight, and there's no oversight from the system that's supposed to go up, and there's almost no oversight from the media, though it's starting. Look, if you can on your website say, we are responsible for investigating all aspects of your custody case, and then go into a courtroom and under oath say, I'm not an investigator, you have no oversight.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. They all can do whatever they want. And you can see it. We've shown this over and over again. And the main thing is there is no amount of evidence that is enough. If they want to protect a guy like this guy, Jeff Darrington, like David Rucky, they'll protect him. There's no amount of evidence that's going to be enough. The entire system will protect him. Look, Michelle McDonald's being punished in 2021 for this case that started in 2013. All over the place, and they never stop because they have to, because if they leave you at all able to fight, at some point the truth comes out. So they have to smear Michelle.
The swamp protects the swamp. That is just the way that it goes. And I hope that what we do here sheds a little bit of light on that swamp. And it's really the only accountability they're going to get is from people like us who are looking into what they're doing and reporting it to you. Whether or not things change, at least we're shedding some light. All right, I think we're at the end of our hour here. Mike, did you have anything else that we needed to talk about today?
That's it. This motion to withdraw is going to happen on Monday. Hopefully we'll get a big audience for them. And I'm going to be filing bar complaints against those guys. Because this is, and by the way, one thing that Melinda said, Melinda goes, they do this all the time. And I said, how often have they been held responsible? She said, never. Start with the Scott Law Firm. How about we do that? I don't know where in North Carolina it is. The Scott Law Firm, if you saw it, you have the number, you can call them, obviously, politely. Ask them why they're withdrawing from their client 2 weeks before a custody trial. Ask them, maybe you should just look into this, the ex hitting the boy with a stick, and just file a proper motion on that, and then you can just withdraw after you file that motion. And by the way, I believe they've basically withdrawn already because they haven't done anything since they filed that motion.
Good God. It's just so upsetting. All right, we'll be back next week. And then after that, I'm going to be on vacation for, I think, 2 weeks. So we're going to have a hiatus for a couple of weeks. So you'll have some time off, Mike.
Okay.
But until then, we'll see you next week.
All right.
Take care, everybody.